Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when we feel broken, defeated, or hopeless. Times when what we once held dear slips through our fingers, leaving us in despair. It could be a dream shattered, a relationship severed, or a path that suddenly seems lost. In those moments, it's easy to feel abandoned or forgotten, as if all light has faded away. But the truth, often whispered through the stillness of our hearts, is that loss is not the end. When God renews what was once lost, He does so with a power far greater than we can comprehend, a power that restores not only what was broken, but transforms it into something even more beautiful. Renewal is not just about getting back what was taken. It is about the divine artistry that takes our pain and scars and weaves them into a tapestry of grace, resilience, and hope. It's the miracle of new beginnings rising from ashes, of strength forged in struggle, and of faith rekindled in the darkest night. God's renewal breathes life into places we thought were dead, reignites dreams we thought were lost, and restores joy where sorrow once lived. This renewal invites us to release the past with gratitude and embrace the future with courage. It teaches us that even in loss, there is purpose. Even in endings, there is a divine new beginning. When God renews what was once lost, He reminds us that we are never truly forsaken. His love is relentless, His timing perfect, and His restoration complete. In this journey of renewal, every step forward is a testament to faith, patience, and the unyielding hope that better days lie ahead. So no matter how deep the loss, no matter how long the night, trust in the sacred promise that renewal is coming. Because when God renews what was once lost, He makes all things new. Step 1C. Acknowledge the pain. Acknowledging the pain is the crucial first step in the journey of renewal. It's tempting, especially when our hearts feel shattered, to bury the hurt deep inside, to pretend it's not there, or to rush past it in search of quick relief. But true healing begins only when we have the courage to face our pain honestly and fully. To acknowledge pain is to give voice to the silent grief, to name the loss that weighs heavily on our souls. It is a brave act of truth that breaks the chains of denial and opens the door for God's healing presence to enter. Pain, when unacknowledged, festers in the shadows of our hearts. It can disguise itself as anger, bitterness, or numbness, slowly consuming our joy and hope. By refusing to admit the depth of our sorrow, we unintentionally trap ourselves in a cycle of suffering that isolates us from God and from others who want to support us. Acknowledging pain means allowing ourselves to feel deeply, not suppressing tears or pretending to be strong. It means giving our brokenness permission to be seen, honored, and held with compassion. This step requires a sacred vulnerability, an invitation to God to meet us in our rawest moments. When we bring our pain to Him, we create space for His gentle comfort and boundless love to wash over us. God does not shy away from our suffering. He enters into it with us. He understands the weight of our loss and longs to carry it alongside us. By acknowledging pain, we begin to build a bridge between despair and hope, between loss and renewal. Moreover, acknowledging pain is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of wisdom and strength. It shows that we recognize the reality of our situation and are willing to confront it rather than run from it. This honesty is the foundation upon which God's restoration is built. It is the moment we stop resisting the healing process and start walking towards it, trusting that even the deepest wounds can be made whole again. Step 2. Surrender control. Surrendering control is one of the most difficult yet transformative steps in the process of renewal. When we experience loss or disappointment, our natural instinct is to grasp tightly, to try to fix things ourselves, and to control every detail in the hope of avoiding further pain. But clinging to control only leads to frustration, anxiety, and exhaustion. True peace and renewal come when we learn to release our grip and entrust our lives fully to God's loving hands, recognizing that His wisdom far exceeds our own limited understanding. This surrender is not about giving up or resigning ourselves to fate. It's a conscious choice to let go of our fears and doubts and to trust in God's perfect timing and plan. It means admitting that some things are simply beyond our control and that holding on too tightly can block the flow of blessings that are waiting to come. When we surrender, we create space for God's peace to replace our worry and for His guidance to illuminate the path ahead even when the way seems unclear. Letting go of control also means embracing vulnerability. It requires humility to acknowledge that we do not have all the answers and that our strength alone is not enough. Yet, in this vulnerability, there is incredible freedom. It is the freedom to rest in God's promises, to stop striving endlessly, and to find solace in the truth that He is always working for our good, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. This surrender is an act of faith that says, I may not understand now, but I trust You. Furthermore, surrendering control deepens our relationship with God. It invites us into a more intimate partnership where we walk in step with His will rather than our own desires. When we relinquish control, we begin to listen more attentively to His voice and respond with obedience, allowing His plans to shape our lives in ways that are far better than anything we could imagine. This process transforms us from anxious controllers into peaceful trusters. Step 3, hold on to faith. Holding on to faith is the unwavering anchor that keeps us steady when the storms of loss threaten to overwhelm us. Faith is not merely a vague hope or wishful thinking. It is a profound trust in God's goodness, His promises, and His power to bring about restoration even when all visible evidence suggests otherwise. When what we once cherished feels lost, faith becomes the light that guides us through the darkness, reminding us that God's love never fails and that He is always working behind the scenes for our ultimate good. Faith requires us to believe in the unseen, to trust that God's hand is at work even when we cannot yet see the fruits of His labor. This kind of faith often calls us to hold on with clenched fists, to cling to hope when our hearts are heavy with grief. It challenges us to rise each day with the courage to say, I don't understand now, but I believe You are renewing my life. Such faith is not blind, it is deeply rooted in a personal relationship with God, shaped by His faithfulness in the past and His promises for the future. Moreover, holding on to faith empowers us to face uncertainty with confidence. Loss often brings questions and doubts. Why me? Why now? How long must I wait? But faith anchors us in the truth that God's timing is perfect and His plan is far greater than our own. It frees us from the tyranny of needing all the answers, inviting us instead to rest in the assurance that God is weaving every thread of our story into a masterpiece of renewal and hope. Faith also transforms our perspective on loss itself. Instead of seeing it as a permanent defeat, faith allows us to view loss as a season, painful but temporary, and as part of a divine process that leads to growth and new beginnings. This perspective gives us strength to persevere, knowing that what was lost is not the end of our story. It invites us to expect miracles, new opportunities, and unexpected blessings as God breathes life back into what was once broken. Step 4a, that is the number R, seek God's presence daily. Seeking God's presence daily is a vital practice that nourishes the soul and anchors the heart during seasons of loss and renewal. When what was once cherished feels lost, it is easy to become overwhelmed by loneliness, confusion, and despair. But turning to God each day invites His calming presence to soothe the restless spirit and fill the empty spaces within us. This daily connection is not a mere ritual or routine. It is a lifeline, a sacred moment where we open our hearts and allow God's love to wash over our pain and bring comfort beyond understanding. In the busyness and challenges of life, it's easy to lose sight of the spiritual sustenance we desperately need. Seeking God's presence daily requires intentionality, a deliberate pause amid chaos to pray, meditate, read scripture, or simply sit in silence before Him. These moments foster a deep, intimate relationship that strengthens our faith and renews our hope. It is here, in the quiet communion with God, that we find clarity, wisdom, and the courage to face each new day with trust. God's presence is transformative. It doesn't just ease our pain, it changes us from within. As we draw near to Him, He infuses us with peace that transcends circumstances and joy that can't be taken away. This presence restores weary hearts and rekindles the flame of purpose and passion. In seeking Him daily, we become more attuned to His voice, more sensitive to His guidance, and more confident in His promises, even when the path ahead is uncertain. Step 5e. Embrace patience. Embracing patience is one of the most challenging yet vital aspects of experiencing true renewal when what was once lost is being restored. In a world that moves at lightning speed and where instant gratification is often expected, waiting can feel frustrating, discouraging, and even painful. But patience is not merely about enduring time, it is about trusting deeply in God's perfect timing, knowing that His plans unfold at the right moment for our ultimate good. When we embrace patience, we align ourselves with God's rhythm and open our hearts to the unfolding of His divine purpose. Patience requires us to let go of the impulse to rush or force outcomes. When we try to speed up the process or control the timing of our healing and restoration, we risk missing the lessons that only time can teach us. Each season of waiting carries its own gifts, strengthening our character, deepening our faith, and cultivating resilience. In embracing patience, we acknowledge that God is at work even in what seems like a pause, shaping us in ways we cannot yet see or understand. Waiting patiently also means confronting our fears and doubts head on. It's natural to feel anxious or restless when the renewal we long for is delayed. But patience invites us to surrender these worries to God, to trust that He is present in the waiting and that His promises remain true. It's in this surrender that we find peace, a peace that quiets the noise of impatience and allows us to rest in God's unfailing love. Step 6. Release bitterness and forgive. Releasing bitterness and choosing to forgive is a profound step toward healing and renewal. Yet it is often one of the hardest to take. When we experience loss, hurt, or betrayal, our natural response may be to hold onto anger and resentment as a way to protect ourselves from further pain. However, bitterness acts like a poison, slowly eating away at our peace and joy. It chains us to the past and blinds us to the possibilities of renewal that God wants to pour into our lives. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks these chains, freeing us to move forward with a lighter heart. Forgiveness is not about excusing the wrongs done to us or pretending the pain never existed. Rather, it is a deliberate decision to release the grip that hurt and resentment have on our soul. This release is an act of courage and faith. Courage to face the wounds honestly, and faith to trust that God can bring healing even from the deepest betrayals. When we forgive, we surrender our right to retaliate or carry grudges, and we open ourselves to God's transformative power to restore what was broken within us. Bitterness is often rooted in unmet expectations and a desire for justice. When those expectations are shattered, bitterness can feel like a shield against vulnerability. But in reality, it becomes a barrier between us and the abundant life God desires for us. By choosing forgiveness, we tear down that barrier and create space for God's peace and joy to enter. Forgiveness heals not only our relationship with others, but also restores our relationship with ourselves and, most importantly, with God. Step 70. Open your heart to new possibilities. Opening your heart to new possibilities is a courageous and transformative act, especially when you have faced loss or disappointment. When something precious has been taken from us, it's natural to close off, to protect ourselves from further hurt by building walls around our hearts. But true renewal calls for the opposite. It calls us to soften, to be vulnerable, and to invite hope back in. Opening your heart means allowing yourself to dream again. That is the number R. Imagine a future that may look different from what you originally planned, but is still filled with potential and promise. This step requires faith, not only faith in God's power to renew, but also faith in yourself and the unknown path ahead. It asks us to let go of the familiar, even if it no longer serves us, and to embrace change with trust. Often, the new possibilities that God places before us are unexpected and outside our comfort zone. They might challenge our previous assumptions or force us to rethink what success, happiness, or peace looks like. But when we open our hearts, we make room for God's creative and redemptive work to unfold in ways we never imagined. Opening your heart to new possibilities also means releasing the fear of failure or rejection. After experiencing loss, it's common to feel hesitant about stepping into something new, afraid that we might be hurt again or that our efforts will not bear fruit. Yet every renewal story in Scripture and in life reminds us that stepping out in faith, even with uncertainty, is where miracles begin. When we allow ourselves to be open, we invite God's guidance, grace, that is the number R, the blessings to meet us in that space of possibility, transforming fear into excitement and doubt into courage. This openness is also an invitation to be curious and attentive, to notice opportunities that we might have overlooked when we were focused on what was lost. It could be a new career path, a fresh relationship, a different way of serving others, or a shift in how we view ourselves and our purpose. When our hearts are open, we become more receptive to inspiration, creativity, and divine direction. It is through this receptive posture that we discover hidden gifts and untapped potential that can lead to a fuller, richer life. Step 8. That is the number R. Surround yourself with supportive community. Surrounding yourself with a supportive community is an essential part of the healing and renewal process when God is restoring what was once lost. In times of pain, loss, or uncertainty, it's easy to retreat inward, feeling isolated and alone with our struggles. Yet, healing rarely happens in solitude. God often uses people, friends, family, mentors, or faith communities to walk alongside us, offering encouragement, wisdom, and love when we need it most. Being part of a supportive community reminds us that we are not alone and that together we can carry burdens that feel too heavy to bear on our own. A supportive community provides a safe space where we can share our vulnerabilities without fear of judgment. This kind of openness is vital because it allows us to process our pain honestly and receive the empathy and understanding that nurture our soul. When we allow others to see our brokenness, we invite healing not only for ourselves, but also create opportunities for genuine connection and mutual growth. That the presence of compassionate listeners can bring light into the darkest moments and remind us of God's unwavering presence through human love. Moreover, being surrounded by those who uplift and challenge us helps us maintain hope and perspective. In the face of loss, despair can cloud our vision, and we may begin to doubt whether renewal is possible. But the encouragement of others, those who have walked similar paths or who hold steadfast faith, can rekindle our courage and renew our belief in God's promises. Community members can offer practical support, share wisdom from their own journeys, and provide prayer and spiritual guidance that fuel our perseverance. Step 9D. Cultivate gratitude. Cultivating gratitude is a powerful and transformative practice, especially during times when we feel the weight of loss or are in the midst of renewal. It can be incredibly difficult to focus on blessings when our hearts are heavy and our minds are consumed by what has been taken away. Yet, gratitude is not about ignoring pain or pretending everything is perfect. Rather, it is about intentionally shifting our perspective to recognize and appreciate the small, often overlooked gifts that still surround us. This shift opens the door for joy to enter even in the midst of hardship. Gratitude changes the lens through which we view our circumstances. When we consciously acknowledge the good, whether it's the warmth of the morning sun, the kindness of a stranger, or a moment of peace amid chaos, we begin to see that life still holds beauty and hope. This recognition helps to counterbalance feelings of despair and loss. It reminds us that God's goodness remains constant, even when situations seem bleak, and that His mercies are new every morning, inviting us to trust in His ongoing faithfulness. Moreover, cultivating gratitude nurtures a heart of contentment and resilience. Instead of focusing on what is missing or what has been broken, gratitude teaches us to embrace what remains and what is being renewed. It strengthens our spirit by reminding us that every breath, every opportunity for growth, and every connection is a gift. This mindset doesn't minimize our pain. Instead, it empowers us to live fully in the present and to find reasons to hope, no matter how difficult the journey. Step 10A. Live with purpose and gratitude. Living with purpose and gratitude is the culmination of the journey toward renewal when God restores what was once lost. It is more than just finding meaning in our experiences. It is about embracing a life that reflects the transformation we have undergone. After enduring loss and walking through the valleys of pain, choosing to live purposefully means we step into each day with intention, clarity, and a deep awareness of the unique calling God has placed on our lives. Gratitude fuels this purposeful living, reminding us that every moment is a gift and every challenge overcome is a testimony to God's faithfulness. Purpose grounds us in a vision beyond ourselves, inspiring us to move forward not just for our own benefit, but to impact others and glorify God. It encourages us to use our renewed strength and wisdom to serve, uplift, and inspire those around us. When we live with purpose, our past losses become the soil from which new growth springs. The pain we have endured shapes our empathy and resilience, enabling us to connect more deeply with others who may be walking similar paths. Purpose gives our lives meaning, even amid uncertainty, and turns our stories of loss into powerful testimonies of hope. Gratitude, intertwined with purpose, keeps our hearts humble and open. It prevents us from becoming complacent or entitled and reminds us to acknowledge God's hand in every success and every step forward. Living gratefully means celebrating the small victories and appreciating the everyday blessings that often go unnoticed. It is this attitude that sustains us during difficult seasons and magnifies the joy found in renewal. Gratitude transforms purpose from a mere goal into a daily experience of living in harmony with God's will. Moreover, living with purpose and gratitude invites us into a continuous process of growth and transformation. It calls us to remain flexible and responsive to God's leading, even when plans change or new challenges arise. This dynamic journey is not about perfection, but about faithful perseverance. Each day becomes an opportunity to align our actions with our values and our faith, to serve with love and to live authentically. In doing so, we become living testimonies of God's power to renew and restore beyond what we ever imagined possible.